all of their
Right.
books, if you read the Old Testament, state that the messianic mission of the Jews is to exterminate the Gentiles and create world rule from Jerusalem and messianic peace for 2,000 years. And they break down the ages of the universe into 2,000-year periods, and they say that the foundation of man with Adam was a 2,000-year period, and then Moses on was a 2,000-year period, and now Christianity is a 2,000-year period, and that each one of those 2,000-year periods adds up to 6,000 years, and we are now entering the seventh day, the Sabbath day, the 7,000-year millennium, which they say will be the messianic 1,000 years of peace. And in order for that to be obtained, the Gentiles have to be exterminated, and the Jewish king has to rule from Jerusalem. And it's all in the Old Testament for people to read. Just as usury. Usury is stated 3 times in Deuteronomy that they should utilize usury to take over all the nations and become the rulers of the earth, the head and not the tail. They cannot practice usury against fellow Jews, but they are compelled by God to practice it against Gentiles as a means of taking over the world. This is not something out of the protocols. This is something out of the books of Moses.
Yeah, I think, isn't it... You spoke about the time and the calendar and all that stuff. I think it's the Freemasonic calendar, Analucius, right? The year of light is...
Yes, that's very significant because
right.
The year 2000 in that is the beginning of the Messianic age.
6016, I think it is today, according to that calendar.
Absolutely. And that is the calendar of Kabbalah and the calendar of Shabbatai Tzevi. That's how it got introduced to the Freemasons. That is the official calendar. The majority of Jewry is working off of an unofficial calendar, which the Jews in the know realize. And they think that the reason why this is being delayed is because they have not yet created enough turmoil in the world, which is why they created Freemasonry to introduce that turmoil. And that's what you're about to face in Europe.
Interesting. So it's a big Jewish conspiracy, isn't it? To be blunt.
It has been for 2,500 years, and
right.
It's not hidden. It's not hidden.
Mm-hmm.
All you have to do is read the Old Testament as if it's not the word of God, but the word of the Jews, and there it is. It's not a conspiracy. It's a plan. They call it a prophecy. But because there are not supernatural forces to bring it about, they're bringing it about themselves.
Right, exactly. They're manifesting this. Yeah, because I try to find a little bit in terms of what the beef really is about, right? Kevin McDonald speaks about group evolutionary strategy. There's different, ideas here, but it's always interesting to try to figure out what is the motivating factor and stuff. But you think it's religious in nature, that this is this is a commandment of sorts that was given, and they are trying to enforce that. Is that right?
But we have to understand religion as they understand religion, not as we as Europeans understand religion. Religion to the Jew is law and kingdom and war and genocide. When you read the Old Testament, it is not some metaphysical exploration of how the universe was created through whatever forces. That's a very, very small part of it. There's almost no metaphysics and no religion in the Old Testament. It is all about a jealous, angry God. And remember what I said before about as above, so below. Just as the Jewish God has to kill off all non-Jewish gods, Jews have to kill off all other human beings. As above, so below. And the Old Testament specifies that there will be a new heavens and a new earth. And by that, they mean a heavens in which only their God reigns and an earth in which only Jews reign. And ultimately, the only way for Jews to reign absolutely is to exterminate all non-Jews. And it's very clear again and again in the Old Testament, it is genocide after genocide. They were never the native inhabitants of Palestine. And the only way they could come to rule Palestine was to exterminate all of the indigenous peoples so that they could never, ever again in the future try to reformulate and retake the territories that they held.